In the recent years, there were some movies that were released that were quite unique and interesting, but there were also many movies that had the same formula that was used for years, with cheesy comedy slapstick and different ideas that can make a memorable movie, making them more like forgettable. Most of them didn't impress me, they were too casual, or it looked to me that they were made pretty bad. From time to time, just as I said in the case of video games, a new title is released that has something new and a unique element to it. In the case of the cinema, for me, the new title that brought an interesting in me regarding its story was a simple film called The Menu. I call it a simple film, but it is not like that at all. The Menu was released in 2022 and is the story of a girl who is called by a guy to have dinner at a very fancy restaurant. But the restaurant's chef has bigger plans, wanting to kill all the guests due to some personal issues. When I watched the trailer for the first time, I had that weird impression that the chef might be a mixed version of Gordon Ramsay and Hannibal Lecter, but somehow it was not like that at all. It is true, the chef is not the main character of the film, but his personality, his actions and motivation define the film. The main character is Margot, who is the girl who appears in this whole situation out of nowhere. It's not the chef. The chef is like the main villain. However, he is the one who carries the film on his shoulders, which makes the story more challenging and interesting. There are things regarding this film that may look rushed or just pieces from a greater element, but somehow they are mixed properly in an interesting way to give a context unique and quite fresh. Now, what should I talk about first regarding the film, because there are so many things to talk about. Small details, ways to build a context, a unique way to present a situation. Everything is well made. It is made in an interesting way, in an elegant way. After all, the story takes place in a select restaurant, so it kinda makes sense. I think I will talk first about the characters, because they are quite well represented. Every single character from the film has a particular thing that can define him. For example, Margot. We do not know too much about her, just that she came to the restaurant with Tyler. Later we find out that she is an escort and Margot is not her real name. The rich old couple, we do not know too much about them, just that they are regular customers of the chef and that the man recognizes Margot from somewhere and he is afraid to watch her. Tyler is a huge fan of the chef and is obsessed with being recognized by him, so he will be a jerk just to be shown nice in front of the chef. The three guys, who are like financial brothers or something, are so arrogant and apparently they may think that they can get away with everything. They are way too relaxed. The critics are like some wolves who want to discover anything that they can discover, more like bad elements to critique and build their careers on the backs of the others, and act like everything depends on their opinion. And the Latino actor and his girlfriend, who are trying to prepare for his career as a TV presenter using the chef's food as training, are in a weird conflict with each other, but also they are in a weird love-hate relationship. As for Slowik, the chef, and his crew, it is weird to see how the crew is loyal to him, that they will do anything for him, including die for him, while Slowik is so calculated and cold at the same time that it may be a bit scary if you think of it. All the characters presented in the film have something to hide, have something to make them mysterious, and the way the film is revealing those characters is well made. With each minute the film goes on, you find something more about the guys from the restaurant. But the thing that got me pretty interested is the reason why everyone is present at the restaurant, because this kinda defines the whole theme and the roles of the people into the film. They are brought there to get killed by Slowik because each and every one of them hurt him one way or another. It may be weird as a motivation. Why would someone bring their victims to feed them, to give them some metaphorical context for their meals and then wanting to kill those persons? I think it's about the theme of the film, of what they represent for Slowik and his life, his restaurant. You see, I think the main theme of the film is the theme of the artist, of how an artist is affected by different opinions, is brought down and molded by his public, and this thing, it brings the artist to a crack point, where he doesn't love anymore what he does and wants to end everything. The way this theme is presented from the artist, who is Slowik, who does everything perfectly, to each of the guests representing something bad for the artist, everything unfolds elegantly. Let's take Tyler for example. He's an avid fan of Slowik, is fascinated by him, by his art, he wants to be recognized by Slowik, he wants to be accepted. Leaving aside the fact that he is a prick and brings with him an innocent woman knowing she will die if she comes because he didn't want to lose his place on the table, technically, Tyler's role is that of the sick, addictive, crazy fan that adores the artist and its work and who might be a know-it-all. So naturally, when the artist interacts with the fan and the fan has the chance to prove he knows his stuff, he will do anything for recognition. However, Tyler is so bad that Slowik destroys his entire beliefs and trust, leaving him to do the only extreme thing he can do when someone might do it when he fails the one who respects the most. Another thing is the rich couple who are regulars at Slowik's restaurant. Slowik sees them just as some people who experience art and don't know what they experience. The Latino actor and his girlfriend are Slowik's victims because Slowik saw him in a bad movie in one of his desired days of relaxation, so naturally, he hates him for giving him a bad moment to live, to make him waste his precious free time. For the critics, Slowik hates them because they are the ones who brought him into this world and made him what he is now, making him just a toy for them, not understanding his love for the food and making him to transform his cooking just to not be destroyed by them. And the three guys, they are more like financially connected to him, so he wants to cut ties with them apparently and wants to expose their mischiefs. Everyone in that restaurant represents something for the artist. Even Slowik's mother represents something to him. She is the last drop of humanity that makes him tick and complete his plan. She is represented as a broken and drunken old lady, but she is more like that. She is the last connection of Slowik with his human side. Even Slowik's team represents something. From what it is presented to the viewer, Slowik tried to be with them as a mentor. For some, he tried to be more like a lover and became an abuser, but somehow all of them stayed with him and Slowik kept them near him. For what can be interpreted, Slowik's plan was made alongside his team. They are the ones who will follow him to the end no matter what. Why? It is never fully explained, but it can be interpreted as they experienced the same disappointment Slowik experienced. They felt what he felt regarding what they were doing. It is an unexplained thing about their loyalty to him, but I think it is a good thing that is a mystery. Like this, the character of Slowik is presented as more dangerous. He is a madman who wants to kill some people and has an army beside him who can do that. I mean, even at the beginning you get the feeling they are like an army due to their program and their way of life. The only thing that is out of the plan, as Slowik likes to say, is Margot. She is not part of the plan, she is the thing that was not supposed to be there. Slowik tries to find out who she is, if she deserves to die with the other guests or with him and his team. But in a very ironic way, she is the only one who survives this whole thing. It is interesting in her development to see how she is the one who kinda asked herself at the beginning of the evening about all those weird things and later she survives. So for her being the small thing that cannot be controlled and that should not be there, it is pretty ironic and logical at the same time for her to be the only one who escapes Slowik's plan. It feels like I talked a lot about the characters, doesn't it? I talked quite a lot, but it is a bit impossible not to talk a lot about the characters because the film is constructed around them. There are many things that represent the characters and their backgrounds. The way they act, the way they react, everything, every single detail has a meaning of why it is used. Another thing that properly represents the characters, well, some of them, is their home. And I will talk about Slowik and his team. I mentioned the fact that their way of life is like a military one, but Slowik is presented as different. From the beginning of the film, we learn that Slowik sleeps in another place than his team. And we have that shot with that old cabin surrounded by woods to give you this creepy feeling regarding him, that it might foreshadow somehow what is gonna happen. But it also gives the idea that Slowik is not equal to them. They may consider him more important than him, or he is considering himself as a master to them. We don't know that. The only thing that is important is their undying loyalty to him. However, the cabin represents a lot of Slowik as he is represented properly by the place he lives in. The first glimpse Margot has when she enters his cabin is that it looks exactly like the restaurant. This may be quite disturbing regarding certain elements of Slowik's character, but it can also be interpreted as his life. The kitchen is his life, his home. Cooking means everything to him. After that, Margot finds some old photographs that represent him in certain moments of his life, and finds out that the only photograph in which he was happy was the one where he was very young and made burgers, thus giving her the idea of the cheeseburger at the end of the film. I love how Mark Mylod, the film director, represented all those details regarding the characters and used little ideas of symbolism to make the viewer understand the purpose and the end of the film. And I love how he started to introduce all characters with nothing to know about them, and as the minutes go by, you learn more and more about them. After learning everything about them, you might agree with Slowik's plan and see his point of view. But also you see how the characters are already accepting their end, and some of them are fixing their issues with one another. Also, speaking about the ending, I found it logical to end the story like this, with Margot being the only one to survive, but also you find a bit of redemption and humanity in Slowik for letting her go, because it made him to be happy again, even for a brief moment, by making him to cook a cheeseburger, making him to remind of the times when he was happy. Also, it may look a bit cynical the fact that Margot is eating the cheeseburger on the boat while the restaurant is on fire and she is cleaning her mouth with the menu, but it can be seen as a way for her to release all the stress, or, and I am talking here just as an idea, maybe it's a connection with the only thing that made Slowick happy. She might eat the cheeseburger because it was made with love by him, and she is cleaning her mouth with the menu, which was a representation of his hate towards what he does and his hateful plan. I might say just an idea, probably this is not what it means, but I love that the ending is open to so many ideas to finally conclude and understand the film's story. It is very clear that the story of the film and its characters are the main pillars that sustain the menu as a cinematic piece of art, but I cannot move over the fact that the way it is presented at film is merging in the context and the presentation of the story. The film is made in a very elegant way, like you are watching a nice presentation of a select and luxurious restaurant. It has a certain elegancy regarding the way it presents the story. It has a certain elegancy in the way it presents the comical moments from the film. They are not put there just to be put there, they are made exactly perfect to stop the tension that you might feel while you watch the film. And having of course the explanation that the name of the film is talking about, the way Slowick is gonna murder his victims, thus making them part of the menu, is giving you this gorgeous and yet cold presentation to an exquisite experience, like it is presented on a golden plate and you paid quite a lot for it. There are some moments from time to time that it quite feels like an American Hollywood style film, but there are many moments in the film where the image is taking that gorgeous role of a painting, continuing to give that artistic feel towards the film. The selection of the music, I have to say that it's perfect. It is not a music that will not be used by someone if they want to create a food presentation. The music is mixed well with the style of the film, and it is an element that adds more than a small feeling to the elegance of the film. And the way it is edited, it is perfect with the concept of the story. The film shows you at the exact moment what you need to learn about someone in that moment of the story. It is made fluently, sometimes it has moments that escalates the suspense, and it might make you feel the adrenaline flow through you due to the context. You can see that Mylod took attention to all those details, and having the film take place in a single location almost 90% of the film, it helps a lot to develop the suspense, the atmosphere, the magic of the film and to focus more on the story, because you might have the sensation of being there with the characters. From a technical point of view, the film is quite simple, to put it like this, but it is quite hard to have a film set in a single location and not lose your focus on the film. However, the menu is a film that knows how to make a viewer pay attention to the situation and forget the fact that you are just in a single location, which in my opinion is pretty hard to do. So, from a cinematic point of view, yes, the menu is quite well made. It has elements and ideas presented in the film that mold perfectly with the context and the situation, and has a certain magic to it that makes you pay attention to the story, whether it is for the characters or for the story to see how it is gonna end. The Menu is one of my favorite movies from recent years. It has a great cast of actors, it is made in a unique way and has a fresh take of a pretty knowable type of story. I have to admit that I really wanted to see the film mostly because of Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy, but after seeing the film for the first time, I didn't quite care too much for the actors but for the characters. Of course, I saw some similarities between Slowick and the most popular character Fiennes portrayed, Lord Voldemort, but in a way, it made the film more funny and intriguing. What if Voldemort became a chef? You might laugh during the film thinking of that connection. Anyway, The Menu is a good film and I love how Mylod took some chances with the film and created a unique portal to the story. If I should recommend a film from recent years to someone, there are a few to mention and The Menu will definitely be on that list. For a 2022 movie, I am quite surprised to see new ideas from time to time. You know what? I think I will go again to watch it. Even if I watched it like 2 days ago, there is something that makes me want to watch it again. I enjoyed the film. It was well made, the story was interesting, so yeah, a good film. I will pay attention next time when I go to a restaurant to eat something. I don't want to be on a chef's hit list in the future.